I would like to begin with this photograph. It's not just a beautiful pattern. It is the handprint of a tribal woman smearing cow dung on the floor. A gesture repeated for generations. The handprint will slowly fade with time, but it represents something deeply human. It says, I made this. It says this place belongs to me. And perhaps most importantly, it says, I care. My name is Vinita Kaur Chiragia, and I'm a part of a collaborative architectural practice that specializes in natural buildings, social interventions, and ecological restorations. Over the years, working in the rural scapes of Maharashtra as an architect, something subtle has become clear. The projects which have truly touched us are not the ones we designed for people, but they are rather the ones co-created with them. The ones where people helped build them with us. A few years back, while we were working on a natural home in a tribal setting, we were experimenting with a material most of us sitting here are well aware of: mud. Instead of cement-heavy conventional construction, the foundation and plinth of this house was made using stabilized mud. Mud constructions have been generationally practiced in this region for a very long time. And yet, the skill has slowly been lost. And moreover, the masons have lost confidence in this technology. Tribal masons are sensitive and hesitant to speak up. While we were constructing this, they gathered the courage to come up to us and they told us, don't make this foundation in mud. Your house will collapse. Nonetheless, the house was built. And something interesting started to happen. The same masons started revisiting the site, not to admire their workmanship or our design. They kept coming back looking for cracks. They were waiting for failure. A few months passed, and then a year, then 2. No cracks appeared. And something slowly shifted in them. The same masons who had warned us against the technique started using it themselves. The building did not just demonstrate a technique, but it revived in them the confidence they had lost in a technology that once belonged to them. Our experiment did not succeed when the house didn't collapse. It succeeded when the masons claimed ownership over a technique which once belonged to them. A few years later, work began on a piece of land in Pain. It was an architecture cum landscape project. When the client first brought us to this site, it did not look like it could be farmed upon, let alone holding the potential to grow into a forest. It was steep, cut into harsh terraces, nutrients had leached away, and the soil had eroded. Murum cliffs kept collapsing. It looked engineered, but it felt so exhausted. One of our mentors recommended that we let the land breathe for a couple of years before we planted anything. But our client was 69 years then, and he said a simple thing: I would like to reap the benefits of this land in my lifetime. And you cannot refuse such an urgent plea. That sentence changed the story for us. We suggested slowing the slopes by building retention walls. Contour works began. Soil building started parallelly. We gave him a planting plan. He did follow some of it. And then he did something unexpected. On the areas around the house, he started building wildly, densely. On flatter patches, fruit trees, on slopes, nitrogen-fixing crops, and on weak soils, biomass and cow dung. He did not build the house first and then landscaped around it, which is a common practice. He said, let the house continue. I will plant parallelly. 6 months later, the house stood, and so did the trees. Birds arrived before we expected them. Insects came in, and then small mammals. A kingfisher from the nearby stream and a jungle cat are frequent visitors on site. Golden orioles pass by during their migration, and owls, woodpeckers, and a pair of mongoose are residents on site. We did not design this biodiversity. The client created conditions for it. He insisted every drop of rooftop rainwater be recharged and harvested into the soil. Even when neighboring lands dry up during summers, his land retains moisture. When Cyclone Nisarg hit, 2 mango trees fell. Though he was heartbroken, the loss was minimal because the roots had gone deep, because the soil had healed, because someone put their heart into it. Life slowly reclaimed the land, and the person who once intended to limit his dream to just this one land parcel purchased 3 more adjoining plots to continue doing this fulfilling work. Watching this transformation, it is truly said that nothing tastes sweeter than the fruits of one's own labor. Any professional could have delivered what grows here today, but they would never have been able to generate the connection which the client shares with his land. We ask ourselves now, how did the forest grow so fast? And the answer is uncomfortable. It did not grow because of a brilliant landscape plan. It grew because a 69-year-old couple refused to be passive clients. They did not just put their hands into the soil, they put their sweat and blood into it. They planted with weak knees. They learned. They failed. They corrected. They continued. They were consistent because they cared. Any architect can guide you, but unless you enter the process, it will never be yours. But not always. Ownership begins with a hope. Sometimes it comes with a loss. In one of the tribal villages where we work, many cattle die every year after consumption of plastic waste. For many of us sitting here, plastic pollution is something that we discuss in conferences and meetings. But for many villages, including this, pan-India, this is a harsh ground reality. We started a discussion within the village to realize that it was a concerning matter, but nobody knew what to do about it. We suggested starting cleanup drives. School children and youngsters enthusiastically joined the cause, and the village was clean after years. But then came the next challenge. What was to be done with so much of collected plastic? While we were still looking for solutions, the village carried on. We approached a plastic pyrolysis plant in the neighborhood, but the transportation cost was heavy, and those plants operated at very high capacities. Then we approached a plastic pyrolysis plant manufacturer. He heard the story of the village. He took a month to get back to us, and he got back positively. He promised to customize and manufacture the plant just for this village. Why did he do this? We meant nothing to him. But in decades, he saw a community coming together with a drive. That is what moved him. While we contacted sponsors to fund the plant, the village kept on. Plastic collection points were created. School children collected plastic and got it to the school. Gram Panchayat became involved. Waste management funds were allocated and mobilized. An electric vehicle was also introduced to carry plastic from the collection points to the plant. And today that village hosts something remarkable. India's first community-owned and operated plastic pyrolysis plant. Looking back at these experiences, a pattern becomes clear. When I look at this handprint now, I see something larger. She left a message behind that if we put our hearts into something, if we care enough, if we are engaged personally, then we leave a part of ourselves behind. And it might not be textbook pretty, but it will always be soulful. Thank you.